camera off so you don't keep seeing me when you're talking, okay?
Well, I like seeing you when I'm talking to you because I feel like I'm actually talking to you.
Okay, so go ahead.
So, when did you first get interested in tarot reading?
So I first got interested in tarot reading probably, I don't know how many years, way over 20 years ago. It's a kind of a long story, but I'll try to make it kind of short. I got involved, I was working, met some people anyway, and one of my friends that I met, she was interested in tarot. And so she had the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. And she said, have you ever done tarot before? Well, I know about tarot, but I've really never done anything with it. And so we were looking at the cards, trying to figure it out. And wasn't working now. I couldn't, it seemed very, very foreign to me. And I'm like, oh, this is crazy. You had to pick, because you had to pick out a significator. You had to do this really complicated layout, because I think it was a Celtic cross. And so at that time, that seemed really crazy to me. So, so that was my first introduction. And then I decided to get my own tarot deck, and I ended up getting the Hanson Robert Tarot. That was my major deck that I got, and I really started to get familiar with that. And at times I worked with it, and at times I didn't work with it. But I had a book that I found that went along with it, and I read that over and over and over again. And I had another deck, and I got really confused. It was a Native American Spirit Tarot, or Native American Tarot. And I couldn't, they didn't seem like they connected. And I found out later that that Native American deck was Thoth-based deck, which was two different systems. Thoth, Thoth, Thoth deck. And I found that that really helped me. That's why I was so confused. I had two different systems. So finally, I put the Native American deck away because I just couldn't figure it out. And so I ended up going with the Rider-Waite-Smith. And once I got into that, then things started to make sense to me. And then all of a sudden, like several years ago, it just clicked. It was like the switch was turned on, and I could read tarot. And not only was I reading tarot, I was getting messages. So I started emailing people and asking them, can I do a reading for you? And I found that way I was not, really, when I started doing that, instead of reading for myself, and started reading for other people, it was clicking even more, and I was getting messages. I channeled messages, I guess you would say. My guides or whatever was giving me messages more than just the tarot cards. So that's how I got into tarot.
Were you channeling before that?
Oh yeah, I could communicate with animals. I didn't realize it was real at first until I talked with an animal communicator. And like I can remember my friend's dog, we were at our house and I kept hearing the word water. And I thought the dog wanted water to drink. And so I told her, I said, he wants water. And no, he didn't want water. But what he wanted, he had to go out to pee. Mm-hmm. So even though I got the message water, it was a little different, but it was still in the right line. Right. So it was that he had to pee. So I've always been highly intuitive. I've had dreams which have come true. Not all of them do. Some of them are dreams. But I mean, I have dreams that, like I had a friend, I dreamed that she was having an argument with her husband in my driveway. And that was weird. Wow. She came to my house and she wasn't in the driveway, but she was on the phone to her husband and they were having an argument. So in the corner room, which is next to the driveway. So it wasn't exact, but it was really close of what really happened, you know. So, and I've always been highly intuitive to energies. Subtle, you know, I can feel energies, I can feel ley lines, I can feel water under the ground. I cannot use dowsing rods, because when I use dowsing rods, I can make a move any direction I want. So my mind gets in the way of the dowsing rods.
That makes sense.
Make a move. So I actually don't need them, because I can interpret it however we do through my own way.
Energy.
Yeah, my own energy. So
is this something that runs in your family? And how did did this start with you at a very young age? How did your family perceive this?
yeah, I think it did start at a young age, and nobody, you know, when you're young, you can't always name what's happening to you.
Right.
So when you're really intuitive, you know, I don't think anybody really recognized it, but nobody poo-pooed it either, because my mom always seemed to know when things were going to happen. You know, they just see it. Nobody told me it wasn't real, and nobody told me I was wrong. It was just kind of like, that's just Heidi, you know. So I wasn't told to, you know, that I was nuts. Not about that anyway. But you know, it's just I was told I was very dramatic. Usually things like that. But other than that, no. It's just I kind of kept it to myself. And then I just learned as I got older, when I got into mysticism, that's the only word I can really think of it. Or some people might call it shamanism, but I like to call it mysticism. So since then, you know, that's what I call it. It was once I started learning about that stuff, I realized that this was been happening all my life, and I had this ability. So that's what happened.
So how many tarot decks do you have, and do you have a favorite?
Well, yes, since I've gotten the YouTube tarot community, I have gotten in many tarot decks. I am not a collector. I don't want to have a whole bunch. I want a small one. I think I have maybe up to 10 now. Right now, I'm not sure if I really... Well, the Hanson Robert tarot deck will be my favorite, because that was my first love. You know, that was my first deck. That was the deck I connected with. Everybody seems to like, when I've gone out and done readings, I had the Druidcraft, the Steampunk Tarot, and the Hanson Robert. And most nobody wanted steampunk, but people like the Druid or the Hanson Robert. So the traditional decks are quite popular for reading. So I would say that's my favorite. My second would be the Druidcraft, because it speaks to my heritage, which is Celtic. And this, and I guess one of my favorites to read with is the Everyday Witches Tarot, which I have today to do some readings with.
The steampunk deck has me curious, because I'm really into steampunk.
Yeah, well, it's definitely steampunk. I don't know exactly where it is right now, so we'll have to do a personal live chat, and I will show that one to you.
I just would like to check out the cards.
Well, you can look it up online. Very easy.
This is true. It's just called the steampunk deck?
Yep, it's called the Steampunk Tarot.
Okay. Have you worked with that at all?
Yeah, a little bit, and I like it. And I wouldn't call myself a steampunk person, but I really like that Victorian type era with all these gears and gadgets. It's kind of cool. I mean, I don't hate steampunk, but I do find it interesting. I do find it interesting. That's for sure.
Right. She can't. My daughter's looking for the link. Yeah, I like steampunk. We have a Renaissance festival here every year in the fall. And it's like right around Thanksgiving is the time that we go because my son from Chicago will come.
Yeah.
And I like it because it's the time travelers. So I get to put on my steampunk outfit, dress up and go, even though I'm the only one on the 5 of us. I don't care. It's fun. Have you ever been to a Renaissance festival?
Yeah, they are fun. They are fun.
It's like going into another world.
It definitely is. It's like like you said, it's like time travel. You step back in time, and everybody plays their part, and everybody's all dressed up, and yeah, it is kind of fun. I'll have to go again sometime. It is
the
fun.
one here, it goes for I think like maybe 6 or 8 weeks, and every weekend is a different theme.
Ah. And then they have something like that in Massachusetts, but the one in New Hampshire just this year moved to a bigger venue because they were running out of space. They didn't have quite enough room.
The one that we have here, it's permanent. And they've got acres and acres of land that they have, and they've got a lot of permanent structures in there.
Right.
And they just expanded. They're moving some stuff around, make a room for more vendors. So my kids are telling me that I should go there with my kombucha.
Right.
So I don't know. So what do you want to share about tarot? What would you tell somebody who has no idea what tarot is, or somebody that thinks it's woo-woo?
What thinks it's woo-woo?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I would tell them it's nothing to be afraid of, and it's not. There are some people who think it's evil. It is not evil. I know. I was told that was one thing when we had a Ouija board. My parents bought the Ouija board, by the way.
Wow.
But my
mine too.
Huh?
My parents bought a Ouija board too.
Yeah. So we had, that was all about, when you did it right, it really works. But my aunt, she would say it was evil. You shouldn't be playing with that. Like, ooh. But we never felt that way. But so I forgot about the Ouija board until I just mentioned it. So that was something I used, and I never really forcefully used my hand. It actually moved with our energy. I don't know if anybody ever did it before, but it worked for me.
Yeah, so, I actually used to spend a lot of time by my aunt's house, and I went over there one time, and we went up the road to some friends of hers, and we were playing with the Ouija board. It was actually a really scary experience. And she was telling us, she said, you're opening up doors that you know nothing about. But I mean, there was just some real freaky stuff that had happened, real freaky stuff. And I'm just like, I don't know about the Ouija board.
Right. Well, with anything, you have to be prepared. But I would say tarot is not scary like that. Tarot, people think it can predict the future. And yes, in some sense it can. But the best thing it does, it tells you what is going on in your life. Because sometimes we don't really want to see what's going on in our life, or we need somebody to point it out for us because we're in our life, so we don't get really a clear picture of the whole
right.
dynamic. And tarot will give you the whole dynamic. And even when I do a personal reading, it will tell me stuff that I kind of knew, but I'm like, yeah, you're right. It's kind of like, yeah, that works.
My daughter has a friend who has tarot readings, and she can't read for herself.
Some people can't. It's difficult. I think it's difficult to read for yourself because you're not as objective. So I, even though I do, I still think I'm still not getting the best out of it if it's somebody else read for me. Definitely get something out of it, but it would be better. I think if you're constantly reading for yourself, then I think you're apt to get lost and not really, you know, that you're going to keep seeing the same things over and over. You're going to have like, it's like the narrow focus and the broad focus. When you do it for yourself, you're going to have a narrow focus. But when somebody else does it for you, they'll have a broader focus. It's good to do readings for yourself because it helps you, especially with a new deck, it helps you get to know the deck. There's a deck interview you can do that tells you how you're going to work with that deck. So it's not a bad practice. I'm not saying that. But if a clearer picture really comes from somebody else reading for you. So if you're starting out with tarot, just study the pictures and come and see what you come away with it. Tarot really came to me when I put the book away. When I stopped relying on the book to look things up. That's when it really started to click. I mean, there's some people, I'm not one of them. There are some people into journaling. So if journaling is your thing, look at the card and write down how it speaks to you. You know, so look down and see how it really speaks to you, and that will give you a really good idea of how to do that.
That's good advice, especially for those just getting into it who maybe felt like you did at the beginning, like, you know, this is really confusing to me. But then too, it seems like you had a time to where, you know, it was like at one time you were having an issue with reading, and then all of a sudden it's like, you know, the spirits and the guides were like, okay, Heidi, go ahead, do your thing.
Yeah, it's just like, that's kind of like what happened. I had been praying for something I could do out of my home to bring in an income, and I also prayed that it would be something I could really enjoy and really get into. And I didn't stipulate what that was. I had no idea what that would be. And then tarot fell off the shelf in a way, right into my lap, and like, here, this is what you're going to do. You're going to do this. So that's kind of how it happened. And at that time, that's when everything just like clicked, and that's when I got it. And the best thing was putting the book away and not just learning to read the cards. Watch YouTube videos. That has helped me too. Just watching the YouTube videos when people are doing spreads, they're showing the cards, so you're seeing the pictures, and they're given their interpretations, and that's how you do it. Because there's really knowing the basics is great. It helps. But really, for me, one thing, I don't do reversals. So if you're just starting out, don't do reversals, because it will just confuse you. And you don't need to learn them, because eventually when you start reading the cards, you're going to get it. Well, personally, I get a message of which way that card needs to go. So I don't need to have reversals. And so it's okay to start without reading reversals, because there's 78 cards, and then it's not always the flip side either. But I also get messages that may not be totally in sync with the cards, but it kind of mirrors what that card, it kind of reflects what that card is. But it's still a different message sometimes than what I would think the card would be saying. I hope that made sense.
Yeah, it does. Do you think that's just because of the reading you're doing for that in particular person?
Yes. Yeah. It depends on the person. That card is going to be interpreted in different ways, depending on the question and depending on who you're reading for.
So you can do a reading from one person and say, and I don't know tarot cards that well, but I know that there's like a 3 of Cups or something.
Yeah.
To have a 3 of Cups for one person, and then have a 3 of Cups from another person, and have it have 2 different meanings.
Yes, and then usually 3 of Cups is a joyous celebration, and it also depends on the other cards that are around it. You know, So usually it's about friends getting together and having a great time. Or it can mean, and depending on the question, it can also mean excess. You know, I've had it come up with excessiveness, like maybe too much of a good time, depending on how it comes up in the reading and where it's placed and then what it's, you know, saying. It's also an emotional card, and lots of times I read by the elements. That's one thing that really clicked into when I really connected the elemental associations, because I've been studying the mystic, the elements, pagan past since I was in my early 20s. And I'm in my 50s now. So it's been a long time. So that was something I knew down pat. So when I really was able to correlate those together, then that really opened up a new thing. So like if I've got cups, which is a water card, is a water element on a water symbol, then that's a whole lot of emotion going on. So that means that can be too much of a good thing too. So that's how that can work. And then depends.
So when we first started, you were talking about slinging cards.
Yeah, that's a term. I'm not too familiar with it, but I think that's an older term where that means, like, you know how when you deal from a deck. So I think that's where that comes from. I just liked it. I've heard it used before by others in this.
I'm slinging cards.
Yes, exactly.
Well, do you want to sling some cards?
I would love to sing some cards, but I haven't seen anybody in the chat, so.
Nobody's there?
No, it says that we have 3 viewers. So, and I know there will be views after this goes live. So, hello, if you are.
Well, why don't you ask one of the viewers to pop in the chat?
That's what I'm doing. We'll see if anybody answers. If not, I'm going to have to do something for you.
Let's see what happens.
It says I have 4 viewers. So anybody out there wants a reading, I know it takes a minute, just enter into the chat. So I know that we're being heard by somebody, but I don't know who.
Right. Anything?
Nope, nothing.
Really, nobody wants a reading?
I know, and I put it out too. I might be too early for most people. Sometimes they come out late, but no, I'm not seeing anything. I know it can take a few minutes, but who's ever watching, I guess, is not interested in having a couple of cards read. It's like, it doesn't have to be a whole reading, just a card. That's all. If not, let's do one for you then, Joyce. I can just do one card if you want. We don't have to do a whole layout.
Well, you know, that's going to depend upon you, what you want to do. But it also, you know, how long we want the show to be once it goes onto the podcast.
Right, right. So, yeah, how long have we been on? I don't know.
Well, and it's 7:39, so we've been on about 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's not, so that hasn't been too long. Okay. So I can pull 3 cards for you. Would that work for you?
That's fine.
And I know you, how will you do it this way? I won't ask a question. I'll just pull 3 cards for Joyce of what she needs to know at this moment. That work?
Hey, tell you what I'll do. I'm going to send my spirit guides to you.
Okay.
And I'm going to let them guide you. Okay?
Okay.
Can I do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want me to ask them or ask the cards? Ask the cards.
whatever you want to do. Should I send my spirit guides or no?
Yeah, well, they probably will come. Yeah, if you'll, give permission for me to read 3 cards, they will come.
Okay.
That's what I find. I think that's how it works. I don't know how it works, but I know that I just felt a presence come into the room. And then
Just now?
Huh?
Just now?
Yeah.
That's Ariel.
So, I have a room here. Oh, they say take it off the top right now. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so the first card we got, and I'll try to get it in the right spot and turn it towards the light. Can you see that?
Yep.
This is the Everyday Witches Tarot, and this is the 6 of Cups. 6 of Cups. So the 6 of Cups is all about giving and sharing, and it's emotional. You see how he's handing her flowers, and all that stuff. Now that I've shown it to you, I need to look at it myself. It's easier for me to look at it here. It's much clearer. So he's handed her, oh, no, well, you can't really tell who's handing what, but they're sharing flowers, so this is a gift. This is an emotional gift. But somebody is giving you some emotional gift. We got a cat overlooking that, and that's your spirit guides. They're overlooking this. They're seeing things for you. They're watching out for you. That they just told me that. Then we got a little kitty down here. We got a little kitty down at the bottom, and that little kitty is trying to get the attention of this young girl. She's very busy, right? Handing the flowers to or receiving, but she's not paying attention to something. So something good is coming, but there's something that's not being paid attention to. So that's what I'm getting is something it feels really good, but the details need to be attained. Details need to be
Attended to.
Attended to. That's the word. Sorry. Sometimes it just gets stuck in there in the brain. And then we go on to the 2 of Swords. This show you that. Here we have, and I'm going to explain it because this will be a podcast at some time. Here we have a witch, and she's throwing. It looks like she's already thrown one sword, and it has landed in a bullseye. Besides that, we have a broom. And then we have a crow standing on a stand, and he's looking on. And then we have a cat at the bottom, like by her skirts and stuff. Okay? So it looks like she's hitting her mark, but what's going to happen when she throws the other one? And the thing is, she's blindfolded. Okay? So she's not really... Again, I'm hearing when she's not paying attention, okay, she's hitting the mark, but she's still not focused where she should be, perhaps. She's inner focus, which is good. Being inner focused is really important. But you also need to see where you're headed. So sometimes we get so into trying to figure out what's going on within ourselves. Sometimes we get stuck, kind of like, I think we can get stuck on shadow work. We can get stuck on looking within so much that we're not seeing the bigger picture. So we have this really narrow focus. And that's what I'm feeling from this card, is that the focus is too narrow. So there's needs to be, it's time to take the blinders off. Yes, you're throwing things in the right direction, but things need to be brought Oh, you need to take the blinders off. Okay. Then we come to the last card, which is the Four of Swords, and I will explain this too. And I can get the light. The Four of Swords, she's resting on a bed, and it looks like she's sleeping. And there's four cards. The moon and the stars are out behind her. Her hat is hung up for the night, and she's just resting. Well, the Four of Swords is about air, and air is about the mind. It's your mental capabilities. It's what you do with, it's how you interpret. It's all up here. It's not. It can be totally emotional, but it's not really about the emotions. It's how you manifest, how you deal with what has happened to you, how you mentally take that all in, and how you mentally deal with it. And so, what this is saying is that there is it's time to rest. There's also some cobwebs in this picture. There's like a couple of spider webs. And for some reason, those spider webs are saying something to me tonight. I think I know. Okay. The cat's sleeping, but he also looks like he's guarded. But although he's resting, he could wake up at any time. I'm kind of getting, you need some rest. So the rest is needed so the cobwebs can be cleared. So things can become clearer. So there's too many cobwebs in the mind. There's a little bit of stickiness. And so your spirits are asking that you clear out that stickiness. Give yourself time to rest. Maybe you're working too hard or thinking too hard, but now is the time to let that, everything cleared out and focused. Maybe work through some meditation, anything that can help clear out those cobwebs. We all get them from time to time. They're nothing new, So that's what I'm saying, and I'd like to, if it's all right with you, I'd like to draw an oracle card. I love these oracle cards, and I like to use them with the readings as like a finishing.
Okay.
If that's all right.
Yes, thank you.
It's called the Mystic Shaman Oracle. I'll show you, for most people in the YouTube community know this well. They're very beautiful cards. And this one, I would suggest that everybody gets this, throw the book out. Don't bother with the book. To me, because this has been shamanism or mystic has been part of my life, I feel like I just read the cards the way I need. I don't need the book for this. Oh, this one fell out. Oh boy, and it's talking real loud to me. Okay, it's set to go with, this is called the Moon. So I'm hearing pay attention to cycles. So this is woman in a big red, with a big long red dress, and she's over embellished with the moon phrases. So pay attention to the cycles. Pay attention to your cycle. Pay attention to the way how things cycle around you, how they ebb and flow. Like, everything is not constant. Things ebb and flow. Things go up and down. They wax, they wane. That's the tides. It's that movement. So pay attention to how things go, how the cycles around you, whether it be your personal cycle, the cycle of business, because even that, there's a business, there's an ebb and there's a flow. So your ebb and flow, your people around you, their ebb and flow. So Spirit really wants you to pay attention to how to look over the next several months of how things cycle. Look over, with the moon phases too. See how things ebb and flow during the moon cycles. Pay attention to people around you, how things are going during the next several moon cycles. Today is the 22nd. We'll be coming up on the full moon on the 27th. I have a calendar right in front of me. That's why I know where the moon phase is. So this is really a good time. Things are building. So like energy rises with the waxing of the moon. Things are growing. Things are beginning to take off. And then it reaches fruition at the full moon. And then we go down the other side. So Spirit really wants us to pay, or you, or any of us, I'm getting that I need to pay attention to this myself, to pay attention to the ebb flow of people around you and the way things are working in the world around you, to notice that ebb and flow. If it corresponds with the moons or if it goes against it, but it can go against it too. So that's your reading, Joyce.
Well, thank you, Heidi. I appreciate that. Do we know how old tarot is?
Okay, I'm not a tarot historian, but I do know there is a debate on if it's Egyptian or earlier, because a lot of the symbolisms do seem to stretch with some of the Egyptian, things. It does correspond with, like, the boss that is by Aleister Crowley, who's well into Masonic, I believe. Don't quote me on that. It's the only things I've heard. I haven't really studied it myself. But it is probably close to over 100 years old at least. That's something that I really am not, like, into that much. But it's been around.
The writer, isn't that the original deck?
No. The writer, no. The writer is not the original. It goes back before the Rider-Waite, and it goes back really to playing cards. I don't know when they started either, but playing cards were the first. For the first interpretation, basically.
Really?
Yeah, because you can interpret using the playing cards, because they have the wands, cups, diamonds, pentacles, and cups embedded in there. The hearts, hearts, ace of hearts, that's cups. The ace of diamonds, that's the ace of pentacles. The ace of clubs, that's the ace of wands. And the ace of spades is the ace of swords. So you have all those in the deck. You don't have the majors, and you don't have one court card. It's minus one court card. You just have the Jack, Queen, and King. So those are the court cards. And you could kind of say that you have the Fool because you have the Joker. You have the Joker in the deck.
I was just going to ask about that.
If the Joker is that's the one major arcana. So you don't have that, but you can definitely use them as a deck as you know it, if you wish. That's kind of I said that's what I'm kind of looking into now. I'm trying to remember the cards, what they mean through the deck of cards, playing cards, so that every time I see like the Three of Cups, the Three of Hearts, that I think of the Three of Cups. So I have that association. So
Are there any cards that are omitted from a regular playing deck of cards?
Say that again. I didn't quite understand.
Are there any cards that are omitted when you use playing cards to read?
Yes, the major arcana, which is a 22 major arcana, which is the Fool, the High Priestess, the Empress, the Hierophant, the Lovers, the Chariot. There's 22 major arcana cards. I'm not going to name them all. So there isn't those. You could, but like we said, the Joker could be the Fool, the could really represent the Fool, because they are included in the deck, even though you don't really use them in many card games. I think there are a few card games that need play. You can use the Jokers, as I remember.
Right.
In my house, we did play cards a lot, and that's one thing that I used to do. With my cousin would hold up a card, and I would guess it, guess the color of the card, and I remember that I got it right many times. That it kind of freaked her out. She'd hold it up so I couldn't see the front. You know, she'd hold up the back of the card, and I'd guess what the card was, and that would kind of freak her out.
When you're doing a reading with regular playing cards, are there any cards that you take out of the deck?
No, you don't need to.
So you use.
Basically, what you have when you use a playing card is you have what is a minor arcana and the court cards. So you don't have the major arcana. So you can still use them, because some people use just the major arcana. There are decks that are just major arcana decks, which that's what I'm working on. It's going to take me a lot of time, but I'm working on a major arcana deck, because I'm also an herbalist, so I'm doing an herbal major arcana, because I was not happy with the herbal decks I saw out there, and being an herbalist, I'm in tune with the herbs, and I felt like Spirit was telling me that this needs to be done in this way. I'm not saying it's the right way, but I'm saying that Spirit is telling me they want me to do it this way, that it needs to be out there in this way. So that's something that will probably take me another year to get it done, because I have so much on my plate. I can't work on it constantly.
So how many cards will be in that deck?
It'll be 22.
How many do you have done?
I have not really totally finished, because I'm doing them in order. So I have like the main part. I haven't done all the background. I have the main part of 6 cards done. I have up to the Chariot.
Can you share one of them with us?
I don't have them with me right now.
Okay.
I'd have to go find them. I have shared them on my YouTube videos. If you want to look through the back, I showed the first one. I showed the Fool. So if I knew how to put a picture in, I would add a picture, but I don't know how to do that right now.
And what's your YouTube channel?
It is Wild Feather at YouTube. It's just Wild Feather, and it's spelled WILDFEATHA. No ER. No ER in the end. It's with an A, because I am from New England and we do not pronounce R's.
And do you have a website?
I don't have a website at this time, but I do have my blog spot, and that again is wildfeather at blogspot.com.
So do you have a place on there where if people want to get a reading from you, they can contact you?
Yes, they can. And they can contact me through my email, and my email is, again, wildfeather, WILDFEATHA at yahoo.com, and put attention card slinging, because that will get my attention. Because we all get lots of emails, so please put attention card slinging, and so I don't miss it. And I'm also on Facebook at Wild as well. They wouldn't let me keep it, but it's Heidi Wild Feather, spelled out correctly, on Facebook.
Is there anything else you want to share?
Well, I'm doing psychic fairs in New England with Karen Tatro. She is a spirit medium, and she does paranormal investigation. And I will be, let me just grab my book, it's right over here, with all my dates on it. Yay, I had that prepared. So, if you don't mind, I'd like to put that in.
Not at all. Please go ahead.
Now, the 25th of August, I will be at the Colonial Inn in Concord, Mass. September 8th, I'll be close to home at the Maplehurst Inn in Antrim, New Hampshire. There will be, at both events, there are overnight paranormal investigations. Some of them are probably filled up now, because they do fill up, because she only does a small group for the overnights usually. So that so it will be a psychic fair the 25th, and then the September 8th at the Maplehurst, it will be at the town hall. The psychic fair is at the town hall, and it's also a wellness fair. And I will be giving a talk about my experience with Lyme disease as an herbalist, and I will share herbal remedies for that on that date. So I'll be doing a workshop.
Are these events free?
A lot of the psychic fairs are free. There are the few, like the next one is September 15th. I'll be at the Mount Washington Hotel, and I guess it's close to Bretton Woods, but it's just called the Mount Washington because everybody else is kind of like its own village in the Mount Washington Valley on September 15th. And that there is a fee for that psychic fair. But it's small. I think it's only like $5 to get into that. And that is booked. And I checked, and the whole motel is booked. So
wow.
I'm really looking forward to that. And it's a big motel. It's one of those grand old hotels. And there is a haunted room that you can rent. People go to have an experience in this haunted room. So that's really
that's okay.
And October 6th, I'll be at the Oliver House in Middleborough, Massachusetts. And that's a psychic fair too, with the overnight too. And then November 17th is a Silver Fountain Inn in Dover, New Hampshire, which is along the seacoast. So that's my itinerary, where I will be doing readings and some workshops. So I've got a lot coming up pretty quick soon, you know.
It sounds exciting.
I'm excited because the first couple I've done with her were wonderful, and these next places coming up will be in busy parts of, they'll be in very busy areas. So I'm really looking forward to going into some of these old inns and seeing what I feel.
I'd like to go in just to see the architecture.
Yes, and that's nice too. I enjoy old buildings. So.
Yeah, me too. Now, when you go to these psychic fairs, do you take all of your cards with you so that people have a choice?
I do bring some so that people have a choice, but I don't bring them all. I kind of keep it simple. I don't want it too complicated.
Right.
If there's too much to choose from, I try to pick what I think, just whatever spirit tells me to bring. So.
Always good to listen to spirit.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're going to go ahead and end this soon. Is there anything else you want to share with the audience?
I think that's pretty much it. I do. I'm interested in psychic paranormal investigation because I've had experience myself with ghosts. So it has to do with being intuitive and interpreting, these things. So
again,
it goes hand in hand.
You had mentioned that one time before, and I said, is it possible that what you're just feeling is an energy? Is it possible people leave an energy behind, and that's what you're picking up on?
I think it's both. I think there's energy left behind, and then I do believe there are ghosts. People that actually their spirit have got trapped on this side. They haven't realized they have passed over, so they're kind of trapped.
Gotcha. Okay, do we want to end this?
Sure. Okay, so I will hit the stop broadcast button. And
no, not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
No, you've been listening to the Great Woman podcast, and I've been on here with Heidi Feather, And she's been my guest, and today is July 22nd, 2018. Thank you for listening. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Bye-bye, everybody.